Control of Congress is on the line this midterm, a decision that could come down to races in several battleground states. In Georgia, voters are heading to the polls in record numbers.
Georgia is becoming more of a swing state. As I grew up here, it was always red, and it's nice to see, people who have moved here really bring the state of Georgia to the forefront.
An Atlanta Journal-Constitution poll shows U.S. Republican Senate candidate Herschel Walker and Democratic incumbent Senator Raphael Warnock are in a deadlock. And it's not the only tight Senate race. The races in these states could change the balance of power in the Senate. Currently, the Senate is split 50-50 between the two parties, with Vice President Kamala Harris having the tie-breaking vote. This means Republicans only need to gain one seat in the chamber to win the majority. Joining us now to break down some of this midterm election madness, I guess, Mark Sandalow, always here and helpful. Good to see you, sir.
Good morning, Jason.
For a long time, we thought that abortion rights would be the barometer here, and that would gauge where people are leaning. Now, it seems overwhelmingly inflation is what's on people's mind.
Yeah, and that's because, inflation is ever present every day for everybody. You drive past, those gas prices, and sort of like a billboard reminding everybody of how bad it is every day. We simply don't know what these issues are going to do. When they ask voters, they say the economy and inflation are the number one issue, and voters tend to favor Republicans on those issues. Crime is also a huge issue, favors Republicans. But abortion rights is huge. And as we saw in a special election in Kansas a few months ago, even in a conservative state, abortion rights is a very poignant issue for the left that favors Democrats.
Right now, it just seems like every race has something going on with it, whether it's Oz and Fetterman. Out in Wisconsin, you got Ron Johnson and Mandela Barnes. Is there one in particular that you're keeping an eye on that could be a signal to you of how things could go Election Day?
Yeah, you forgot about the Heisman Trophy winning Herschel Walker.
Right.
And what happened in against Georgia and Tennessee can have an impact. Georgia's number one team in the country. People feel that bulldog fever, and it's very possible they show up for that reason. People get disappointed because of what happened, and maybe they don't show up. That sounds like a very crass little way to look at politics as sports, but it's not crazy to say that the future of the U.S. Senate in some ways depends on how loyal Bulldog fans are feeling this morning.
As you watch some of these rallies right now, I'm just curious of how much you think FaceTime matters when you have the president show up, or former Presidents Obama and Trump show up, or maybe it's Liz Cheney. Do you think that does anything? Because it seems like the folks they're talking to are already energized.
Yeah, very little. Very, very little. And I mean, that's traditionally been true, but, very little. I mean, we've had these races now where 5,000-10,000 votes out of millions make a difference. So it only takes a little bit on the margin. And don't forget that something like a quarter of the population has already voted. Mm-hmm. I mean, the last I saw, at the end of October, we already had about 28 million Americans who have voted in this election. So no amount of rallying and love or hatred for any of those people you just mentioned is going to make any difference for those voters at this point.
Yeah, as you talk about the early voting, we're still kind of split on election deniers and those who are full believers. You have some that saying you're going to stand in line all day and make the lines long. Do you think we're to the point where we can accept numbers come the day after the election?
So maybe not the day after the election, because they're still going to be counting. I mean, take Pennsylvania. The law there says you cannot start counting the ballots, the absentee ballots, until the polls close on election day. So what that means is come the end of 8 o'clock or whatever it is on Tuesday night, there's still going to be millions and millions of votes to count in Pennsylvania. So it may be Wednesday, it may be Thursday, but can you trust the numbers? What we know is when Democrats, Republicans, independent folks, elected officials on the county and the state level have all looked at what happened in the last election, there's no reason to doubt the accuracy. When you have 150 million people voting, there will be mistakes. But there's never been a reason to believe that those mistakes are worse now than they were before, or that those results, the mistakes, could change the outcome of the result. This is sort of the domain in many ways of sore losers. There have been stolen elections in history, but those are extraordinarily rare.
Tell me about tone right now. Coming off of January 6th, then we have this break-in at Nancy Pelosi's house and plenty more, both sides on the extremes. Have you ever seen anything like this before? And can this change? Can it go back to quote unquote normal?
There is a sort of this righteousness. I had the opportunity to drive from my home in Maryland out to Denver just a couple weekends ago. And, driving on I-70 through Kansas at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, there were 20 people waving American flags with a big sign, Joe Biden for jail. Now, I have no idea what motivates people to get out. I mean, I have a feeling it was sort of giving a signal to folks like on the East and the West Coast cutting through their state. But people are extraordinarily fired up, and they're fired up for ways that don't necessarily make sense. And, a lot of that has to do with the former president. A lot of that has to do with, you and I in the news media and sort of always ginning up anything we see to make it as extreme as possible. And, politicians can't say this. I can. There are a lot of gullible folks out there.
Sure.
And what you see on, Twitter, what you see on social media, on Facebook and all is very often not factual, but people assume it is.
Mark Sandelos, thanks so much for your help this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jason.
Take care.